Hi guys, thanks for stopping by again. I recently finished When the Moon Hatched by Sarah B. Parker, and honestly, I was both really excited and incredibly disappointed with it. Two very, very, very different emotions. But the problem is, it's a first book. It did exactly what it's supposed to be. And it was a book that actually doesn't tie itself up, which I don't know. If you're writing a first book and you don't know if the second book is going to be a thing or if you're just going to self-publish it, totally do it. But it was a really interesting emotions that I had. I'm going to try to keep this one from getting too spoilery, with also conveying all the emotions that I had throughout this book. There will be some spoilers, there are some things, but it was a really fun ride, interesting ride. I didn't dislike it as much as some other people, but I know I didn't like it as much as some other people did. Some people absolutely adored this book, and I'm very happy for them. One of the things I really enjoyed in this book was the world building. There are two main species in this book. They are the Fae, which kind of act as just the normal population, and then the dragons, which are a little more monstrous than just like the dragons we see like in Aragon or in Fourth Wing. And the reason why I say that is because we're not talking to them as directly, it seems. We get, at least that's what I got. This might change. We don't see the interaction between the dragon and the Fae as much. One of the things about the dragons was I love the descriptions of them. Some are incredibly feathered and vibrant, it seems, in their plumage, and some are very dark in their plumage, and some seem like they were scaled. And I could be wrong on the scale, but that was just the vibe I got. Maybe I just completely missed the description of this dragon and I just inserted that he was scaled. Could be my fault. There's also different climates. The climates also have an impact on the way the dragons they survive. The feathered dragons tend to be from more of the north, the colder region, while some of the other dragons that in my brain says they're reptilian styled are in like lava, desert, hot, very hot places, which is fun. The Fae are an interesting bunch because they are the primary sentient species, I should say, in this world, and they're also incredibly long-lived. Like we're seeing, like, I don't know how old any of our people are, but I know for sure like some of them are over 100 years old. So I don't know how long-lived they are. I didn't pay attention to that part. I know, great book reviewer. But they are long-lived and they can also use elements. Their gods sing to them. So if the Fae can understand and hear one of the gods singing, they can then start learning what the gods are singing to them. And with being able to learn what the gods are singing to them, they can then use that power to shape and create and manipulate different things, like air or earth or fire and water and all various things. It was very interesting to kind of see that elemental play at work. I did like it. I want to see more of it, please. Thank you. And a lot of people, this is not like the Avatar: The Last Airbender where there's only one person that can manipulate more than one element. Blah, 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 blah. Multiple gods can sing to the same Fae. So then they denote that with gems on their ears, and if no god sings to you, you are called a null because no one likes you, which is very mean. But anyways, the nulls are then treated as like second-class citizens. They are, especially in this current society where we start out, they are definitely considered second-class citizen. There are some other people that believe that is wrong, which obviously it is, but plot device, which is fine. I do like that plot device, and I want to see more of it and see the hierarchy of bull crappiness just be taken down. The main character is Rave. Rave is stubborn, strong-willed, and violent. She's great. I quite enjoyed Rave, especially in the beginning. In the middle, we have our nice little mellowness and we like figure out who we are as a character and as a person, because there is the play of amnesia through this story, because Khan is our main love interest, and when they meet, Rave is sentenced to death and Khan is basically rescues her on accident because she's in prison and he's actually there to get one of the other prisoners out instead of her. And then he finds her and she gets sentenced to be eaten by dragons, and his dragon basically kidnaps her in his mouth and takes her away. And that's how our story works. So that was a really interesting way to see stuff. And it was also really funny. So the thing that bothered me. So the thing that bothered me about this one was the pacing. The pacing felt a little different. We also have a pretty long book. This is over 600 pages, I think, or something like that. It was a little bit longer. It took me a few weeks to read because I would get really into it and then the plot line would peter off. I'd be getting really into it and then the plot line would just kind of taper off and not feel like we're making much progress. Or, excuse me, I'd be getting really into it and then it'd feel like the plot line would just kind of taper off and it would just kind of lull for a little bit. The fun and games portion, the middle act 2s of this book did kind of lull for me. There are some things I could have done without. There are some things I wish we kind of got to see more of. But at the same time, what also did keep it interesting was there were multiple point of views. We were not just staying with Rave, who's like having her little healing era in the middle of this book. We see Khan and his sister and a few other people that are like bad guys or mediocre guys. Don't know if they're quite bad, but they're definitely not good. Everyone's like really like chaotic good. We also get to see journal entries by who we learn is someone very important, but also like the connection for that was just, it was pretty simultaneously. Something that happened for me was seeing that Rave was also the girl who wrote the journal entries, but we still don't know exactly what happened to Rave or why she doesn't remember things from her past life. And now we really kind of get into the romance, which I thought was interesting because we don't get like, this is not a super smutty book, but romance is definitely part of the main story. I think that it's pretty well done in that sense because Rave has the attraction, but she doesn't remember, while Khan has the attraction and he still loves her. So he is like trying to protect himself because she's just like, I would like to one and done this, and he's like, nah, we're not gonna do that. Like, if that's what you want, that's fine, but I can't do that. But Khan doesn't really pressure her into doing anything she doesn't want, but he also holds his boundary of like being like, no, I am worth it, which I actually kind of thought was nice. So I would say this is not a slow burn, but it's also not a quick burn. Like, we don't see shenanigans like that until much later in the book. So yeah, just be aware, it's not something you're seeing on page 1. Because there are multiple creatures and that the Fae are the most sentient, but they're not the only sentient being, that was really interesting to see different aspects of the world that way. Like, I quite enjoyed it. I really would like to see this world more in the next books, because, and I think we will, because there's so much that kind of leaves on it like a nice little cliffhanger because it's the first book. So I'm very excited. There are dragons, but we don't get to ride dragons very much in this one, so be aware of that. And if you did like Fourth Wing, you're looking for something else that kind of itched that Onyx Storm, and you haven't finished and you haven't read When the Moon Hatched, I would definitely give it a try. It was 4 out of 5. Or no, actually it's a 3 out of 5. I really liked it. There's more I wished I got from it. The world is really what I wanted to see more of, and I also wish that I got to see more of their romance to get further on. Like, it's just a longer book, but it was still really good to see. The pacing was just something I struggled with, but I will read the next one, and hopefully it's even better. Thanks again for stopping by. If there's any more dragon books out there that are a finished series, or like there's quite a few in them that's not quite finished, please let me know, and especially if you guys have read them and you've liked them. I'm kind of on a dragon kick, so I would not say no. It can be trashy romances, it can also be like high fantasy. Talking about this makes me think I'm gonna read Aragon because we just got those. My husband just got those from his brother, and I think that would be a nice little book dragon one, and I can get the rest of them because he only has 2. So obviously we need the rest of them now. So bye guys, I'll see you later.